Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another LinkedIn live session with us here at Dream Data. I think we're actually breaking a record today, Lars, with you joining. I think this is the third time, right? So this is you're the record holder for the most live participations from guests so far. I think the reason for that is that what do you say in English, but we ping pong quite well together. I love marketing and you love sales, and we like each other, so that typically makes up for a good conversation. But Lars, like for those who haven't met you before, maybe can you give the 1 minute intro to you and to Scale Up XQ and why you know a lot about B2B sales?
Yeah, sure. Looking forward to get that gold medal, by the way, for being it 3 times.
It's a beer.
It's a beer. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
golden. Perfect.
Yeah.
It must be a Carlsberg or a Tuborg, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm Lars Johan, and currently I'm running the company Scale Up XQ, and what we do is basically support other B2B companies in establishing their sales organizations primarily, but also I would say with a marketing customer success dimension, but mostly primarily with sales. In parallel with being their operational sales resources. So typically we enter an organization that either want to have more sales in the current market, they're going into a new geographical market, or maybe they are also going to the market for the first time and they need to shuffle their cards right and get some high performance and some knowledgeable professional salespeople connected to the company without taking the risk of recruiting and so forth. And previous to this, I've been building a few technology companies and a couple of other companies where I had similar roles, but then within my own company, hiring, entering new markets, getting sales working, getting sales integrated with marketing and so forth. So I believe that over the times, including in this company that I'm working now, that we have built some know-how that might be of interest to your audience, hopefully at least. Yeah, that's the short pitch. I believe that to mention, like, to round it off, over the last 4.5 years, we worked with approximately 200 companies where we've been in the companies, actually structuring, doing all the sales efforts, entering Denmark, Sweden, Germany, US, and so forth. So we are very close to the operational side, and obviously we say that we sit with some very up-to-date and current information and know-how in relation to this. It's not only theoretical and philosophical information, but it's actually know-how that we are generating every day by being out in the markets.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive number that you guys have reached by now. And it's a typical startup and scale ups, or is it also other types of companies?
Yeah, that's changed over time. So I would say that we started off with working primarily with startups. But now, over the past 1.5 to 2 years, the companies they've become more and more also mature in nature. So probably 50-50 young companies going into the market for the first time, and 50% larger companies already with maybe everything from 10 to 50 million euros ARR when we enter them, because they want to just get more traction somehow. So both the first timers and more mature ones. Yeah.
Cool. And then today we chose this topic of what B2B sales teams need from marketing. And I think that could be super fun to hear from you. like what is really the list that we in marketing can do to make you guys successful in sales? I think some of there's some thinking about that, or there's some classic thinking about that. Sales, they don't understand the value of marketing, and marketing don't know how hard sales can be. And maybe before we go into kind of what it is that marketing can do for sales, maybe you have a few tangible examples of when the collaboration between sales and marketing have worked out well, and perhaps it's easier to say sometimes also when has the collaboration between marketing and sales not been working out? So what are the first kind of examples that comes to mind to you?
Well, this is going to be a very, very short episode because, as you know, sales don't need marketing and marketing don't need they don't need sales. So it's going to be only 30 seconds. No, but joke aside, there's definitely like I've never looked upon it as sales only need sales and marketing only need marketing, and we have a challenge in connecting both of them. I believe that generating revenue is the job, and generating revenue, we have some expertise in terms of what we like to work with and how we like to approach potential customers. What is in the way driving the motivation. So, and I personally love the human touch game, getting into relationship building and talking to people, and that's why sales has primarily been the focus over the past years. But I'm very much aware of the value of marketing into that game, and that in a way that sales is in a way also a marketing channel where you have humans that are in a way moving the content and actually moving the communication. If we are to, in a way, be successful together, there has to definitely be an alignment when it comes to this, and a respect of the areas of specialities, instead of battling for who is the one that is actually driving the processes. Because in this aspect, 1 + 1 doesn't become 2. 1 + 1, if you are able to succeed, this becomes 10, right? It in a way maximizes the effect. So where there is alignment and a respect, we can definitely see that sales and marketing, both of them have areas of responsibility throughout the whole sales funnels, but maybe leading responsibilities and supporting responsibilities is then decided upon. That's where it works extremely well. Where it don't work extremely well is when you only focus on marketing being the top of funnel people and sales being the bottom of funnel people, and that's how you then silo it. That's where it always goes wrong, right? So it's not about collaboration.
I typically think about it as in marketing we're quite good at doing the one-to-many communication, like doing something that is appealing to a lot of people in a good way and getting the attention of a lot of people. And then the people in sales are the one that do the one-to-one translation of, okay, this is what the marketing is, the website, this is what the product does. And then the salesperson then translates that into a sales conversation, that this is what the product and the website means for you. And that also works as a good way to make sure that the teams collaborate. So I try to continuously say to our sales team, what are the questions that you are being asked consistently? Because if you tell them to us in marketing, we can help you come up with a really good answer in a one-to-many fashion. So you don't have to remember all the details of this question, or you don't have to repeat the same question, because we can preempt it before it arrives into the sales conversation. Just before you go on, I saw somebody started commenting now, and please do treat it as if you're part of the conversation. Ask me or Lars any question that you would like to ask. There's more than 100 people following, so don't hold back on anything, and I'm happy to not ask the questions and let you guys answer the questions. Where did we come from? One of the things that I feel like is happening at the moment is the fact that more of the buyer journey takes place before the buyers gets in front of the salespeople. And that must also then mean that what sales needs, B2B sales teams need from marketing, is that you have to help the sales team get in front of the right people before it's too late and they've just picked a vendor that was good at getting the attention initially.
Yeah, For sure, and that is, I believe that is the the mission for both sales and marketing. To like to make sure that you are on top of mind when it comes to all potential buyers out there. And there's that's definitely also, like, if you think about the sales game, I I don't necessarily believe that. I believe, or let's put it like this: what we see is that sales game, when it's like the more the early stages of sales, let's put it like that, when it's getting closer and closer to marketing, and the later stages of marketing, it's getting closer and closer to sales. So this area, it's like blending more and more, and that's kind of cool, because that's also where the more operational collaboration gets interesting, in my opinion. If you think upon like a traditional way of doing outreach from a sales perspective, working cold, it's definitely very similar to the outreach perspective from marketing, working and actually then generating potential business opportunities by reaching out to as many as possible, getting them into some kind of communication loop to make sure that you map out when or the timing of when you should reach out in connection to actually connecting your product and services. So the marketing, or let's put it like this, the sales perspective of it is not only to sell, but it's also to get real market intelligence from feedback from actually talking to someone, to then map it, feed it back into the marketing part of our organization, so they can start in a way nurture it and start moving it. And at the same time, giving feedback to especially communication, I would say. So marketing can start then building stronger narratives that is also more relatable to the feedback that you get from sales. So we are very, I would say that the feedback loops and how we establish these feedback loops is super, super important. When it comes to
so
like
the feedback loop from
yeah.
feedback from sales to marketing.
Exactly. And also, of course, the feedback loops from marketing to sales too, but I believe that sometimes where we are failing, or where it's as you are pointing out too, like where we are failing quite often is actually that data and that experience that we build while we are in dialogue, like one-to-one dialogue with the potential customers. It's not brought into your system landscape, basically. So it's not, you don't take care of it in your CRM system, or you don't take care of it in any other platform. So we lose valuable insights that you can actually use to strengthen your position and messaging overall. On the other hand, if you think about like positioning, like the general one-to-many positioning, of course, today it's probably more important than ever to be present and actually work on warming up potential buyers before they go into a sales process. That's one thing, but also the whole AE perspective of it now, and how you can then treat and how we can work with the large data sets to look at signaling when it comes to potential buyers being more ready to go into a sales process. This is also something I believe that we're going to see much more from the marketing side moving forward. The whole like utilizing new technology, and especially then in terms of monitoring potential customers to see if there's any signals out there when it comes to maturity in terms of buying.
Yeah, I wrote down 3 things that I wanted to mention here. So I think one thing is that the sales team can do is to start using a piece of calling software, the Gong or whatever the other brands are called, that kind of records every single sales call, because that allows the rest of the company to listen in on demand on the conversations that the sales team is having with the market. And in the best of cases, then the sales team will also get used to like share these, now I'm calling them gong calls, that says something about the brand that they've established, but these sales calls with the rest of the organization when there's something negative or something very positive, like just grabbing that sound bite from a customer saying, this feature is absolutely awesome, or I get this question continuously. Can somebody please help me answer it? So if you as a sales team start getting all these calls recorded, it will be a lot easier for you to convey these messages to the rest of the organization.
Exactly. And just by taking the step towards establishing, in a way, one source of truth, right? That means that we have to collect the data somewhere, and using Gong or some other kind of calling software, using other softwares or other, in a way, features at least unlocked in maybe a CRM system to also then extract the feedback from mails and other things, making sure that feedback is then routed to the right kind of properties in your system landscape. This will save you tons of time, and of course also make it less subjective and a little bit more objective at least. So I totally agree on that. And if you don't establish like a common, like the fundament for sales and marketing working together, it's going to be, you're going to screw up regardless, because it's not silos. And I think probably most people that are in the call, they understand this, but it's easier said than done. It's more like silos when it comes to speciality functions and profession, but it's definitely not silos when it comes to the customer journey and how we would like to activate the potential buyer throughout that journey. That is very much a collaboration, and it's not about only about marketing people making sales materials for salespeople. It's much more than that, right?
Yeah, I think for the company side, there's just one goal, and that is more revenue. And then the company puts resources into marketing and resources into sales. And if those resources are going two opposite directions, then obviously you're not gonna see as much revenue as you could from this investment in go-to-market.
Exactly. And there you go. Just prioritizing which part of the funnel we are actually going to double down on right now, and also aligning upon then who are we going to double down on now, so you don't spread your focus too much. But if you can do that, so you have the same view, then it's also much easier, to discuss value proposition, USPs, the potential barriers, how to get around the objections and so forth. Sadly, what we see quite often, and this is probably something that you experience too, is also that you split the focus, so you're pulling in two different directions. This is sales work, we're going to work with this. This is marketing work, we're going to work with that. And suddenly you lose a lot of value. Then the 1 + 1 is not 10 anymore. It's going to be 1.5 instead.
Yeah. What are the examples that you have, like, what are the practical things that companies need to do to make sure that sales and marketing actually work on the same team, that they align, that they try to help progress towards the same goals?
That's really, this is a big question, I would say, but it's one thing that I believe that a lot are missing out on, and that we see also that some now some people are, like, in a way, trying to bring at least up in the awareness. It is having the same framework to lean upon. So you have to just choose something. I don't know if it actually matters what you choose, but for instance, right now we see that there's a doubling down on the bow tie model, for, like, at least in the B2B SaaS industry, from like the winning by design and this pavilion environment in US. They are like really pushing it hard.
Can you just explain this bow tie? It's also a little bit rusty for me.
Yeah, so basically the bow tie model is is basically the funnel of bringing a customer in and getting them committed, and the opposite way of building the relationship and expanding the relationship over time, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a traditional funnel, and then you just added a mirroring of the traditional funnel to visualize that it's not only a
Okay.
journey
Yeah.
of getting the customer, but expanding the customer. But connected to this, it's certain stages, which is basically, awareness stage is getting them activated. It's like pulling them into some kind of commit process and then expand process and so forth. But regardless of you lean on this kind of model or some other model, the good thing is that most of the models that are pretty established, they have certain data sets that you're looking for, certain prioritizations that you are looking for, certain processes that is supporting this. And as long as
Yes.
sales and marketing look at the same model, it's easy to have fruitful discussions. If I am talking about top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, you are
Yeah.
talking about bow tie model, then we're going to discuss like about the models instead of discussing activating sales and marketing, getting sales and marketing activities out there in the market, right?
I think I had just wrote down to ask you what kind of I think this is a good segue. So, what are the metrics that you would want to hear marketing talking about, and what are the metrics that you don't want to hear marketing talking about?
Oh, okay. So metrics that matters. What I would like actually is to see sales and marketing talk about the same KPIs and metrics and understand
Yeah.
the KPIs and metrics in their own field of expertise. So there's not like this is marketing metrics and this is sales metrics. Like, and it might be, and this is why I love your platform, by the way, because you're establishing more of an end-to-end traceability of how things are moving throughout a commercial relationship with the customer. And in most cases, this is not so, because you isolate marketing and you isolate sales, and you say that there's one conversion point in here, and maybe that's like MQLs for marketing.
Mm.
And after MQL is done, marketing is not paying more attention to it, right? And this is, of course, stupid, because then you don't say anything about the quality of the work, and there's no feedback loops. So sales and marketing looking at the same landscape when it comes to both KPIs and metrics, at least the leadership level, so you are able to align things, but also operational side of things, in my opinion. And keeping it, making it also about the quality of a prospect and a lead maturing to become a sales opportunity, instead of only about quantitative metrics. That is probably something to be a leading metrics, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had that say. Actually, I can tell you. So at Dream Data, with the marketing metrics that I measured the most upon is what we call them sales acceptable leads. So that means people who either booked a demo call or signed up for free to our product, and also look like people we normally sell to. So it's not just a matter of like increasing the amount of demo calls that gets requested and signed up to the product.
Exactly.
Because who cares if it's it's random people that have no interest in actually purchasing our product. So you have to look at the quality of those conversions that you get, and not just the pure amount of it.
Exactly.
When we started Dream Data, I probably did the first 100 demo calls, something like that, on my own.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of respect for the importance of the quality of who you're going to spend the next 30 or 60 minutes with, when you have to do all these calls yourself, because after 5-10 minutes this was a waste of time. So I think if you're not happy with the quality of your marketing team's work, then invite them to take a few demo calls together with you and see what happens. Because when you can see and feel with your own mind and body how whether it's quality that you're bringing in or it's not quality, then hopefully you also start to adjust the marketing activities you do to not waste the salespeople's time the next time something gets booked.
Exactly. And if you think about it, like bringing it back to the point again that everyone that is connected to the growth team, or basically everyone in the company per se, we need to generate revenue for the company. If not, it's not going to be a company, right? And on the growth side, it's about generating sales. That is the, in a way, the revenue contributor. And if you then look upon again sales as a communication channel to nurture customers, but it's a highly manual one-to-one channel, it still is of marketing's interest to follow through that channel as long as possible to understand what is actually the parameters that is going to move these opportunities down a pipeline. And I believe that marketing can contribute all the way to closing by different kind of activities. One is just the generation of SELs, as you're pointing towards, but when we bring them through the other parts of or the other steps of the sales process, there is so much that can be done in terms of collaborative work when it comes to both nudging, continue positioning throughout the sales process, case studies, great sales material that the people understand. There's so much we can do, and follow it all the way through the end. And maybe I think that's one of the maybe the most important points, that if we're going to focus on something today, like exactly like what you said, if marketing could participate in a few sales meetings, demos, and maybe a few processes from the start to an end, I believe that would be very, very helpful for salespeople, because salespeople then maybe feel a little bit better understood. And also they can also understand marketing better, because they can sit and have discussions after these touch points to actually see how they can collaborate better, right?
And I don't know if I'm as most marketers, but I'm also a bit lazy. So as soon as I would see a salesperson answering the same question 2 times or 3 times, my brain immediately starts thinking, how can I answer this in a scalable way so we don't have to do this activity all the time? And I think that's what you can do as a salesperson. Just keep writing down and share the information with the marketing team. What are the things that you have to do all the time? And try to kind of brainstorm together about how can we kind of get rid of some of the things through marketing and communication that we have to do all the time.
Exactly. But that is also where it's very interesting in terms of when do you bring on, like which expertise do you bring on in which order, right? And like you have a lot of experience and you think a certain way because you've seen things many times before. But if you come with that mindset that, you know, we are going to find some level of repeatability in our business, and that is going to bring us some level of scalability in what we're doing, then we have to ask ourselves, both as marketing professionals and sales professionals, what is my best contribution to get that done? And if you have that mindset, you can remove a lot of work from yourself and from your peers and from your colleagues by exactly extracting the information that you're talking about and making templates and making content and changing sales materials and a lot around that.
If we switch a little bit and talk about I think what people refers to as account-based marketing, but really this discipline of selecting X amount of accounts and then marketing and sales each contribute to this process. Have you been part of like I'm missing the English word, but creating this process from the point of time when you've selected accounts and then having marketing and sales collaborate about warming up and opening the accounts and closing them in the end?
Yeah, yes, for sure. We are connected to that with several of our customers that we're working for now and have been working for previously, and also our previous companies. I would say that the previous company, Seneta, that we built, where the customers, they were very like immature when we started to approach them the first time. So we doubled down on the account-based approach at some point, and realized that we had to meet them on a lot of different arenas over time for them becoming mature enough to buy. So yes, I've been connected to it, and it's, of course, when we get to a certain size of companies, it's and certain complexity in the decision-making structures, it's definitely something that's going to shorten the sales processes and increasing the win ratios within those accounts. But I believe that that mindset should be the same regardless of the customer being a small one or a large one. Because when you talk about account-based marketing, or maybe most people, when they refer to account-based marketing, they only think about it in relation to enterprise sales. But it's the same mindset. Like, how can we nudge someone via a mix of channels in a certain order to increase the chance for them becoming a customer?
Yeah.
And yes, it's maybe more strategic when you work one-on-one account, but it's also the same thinking when you're working a larger market with more accounts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think marketing, sort of account-based marketing, can be the one-to-one to the really large accounts, and then
Yes.
one to a few, and then one to many as well. And I think what when you're in the one-to-many pocket, which I think is what we do at Dream Data, we have a company-wide agreed ideal customer profile. And then in marketing, we work on attracting, doesn't matter if it's this or this account, but it has to look in a certain way. And then we do all the different kind of marketing activities we can to make companies show up at our doorstep that looks like those we would like to sell to, without us being very determined that it has to be this specific account. So I think that also leads me to say, if you're listening to this and your company either doesn't have a list of named accounts or a definition of what an ideal customer profile is, then there's a high likelihood of your marketing and sales teams running in different directions.
Exactly. But if you think about it, then in relation to what you're saying now, so yeah, like if we were to say that let's like, I understand what you like. Let's select a few accounts and then individually tailor the strategies for that account and how to reach that account in collaboration with sales marketing. That is extremely interesting, right? Because it's being a detective in a way, and also you have to think. It's very much tactical thinking, how to prioritize, and there's no one formula that fits all. It's about collaborating and using the channels that actually make sense to move, and the content, of course, to make sense to move that particular account. But if you think about it, it's also like the more one-to-many accounts. Like, if you think about the awareness aspect of that, saying that, yeah, but it's all about being present through marketing, and then you pull in a potential sales opportunity over time. Well, the equivalent to that would be a combined sales marketing effort when it comes to, for instance, trade shows, right? You are doing similar stuff, but you're doing it manually, and you don't necessarily know anything. And more often than not, you don't get the participation list. You're there with people walking the floor, doing manual sales work. And I would say that is a combination of sales and marketing, and also have the same mindset. You use multi-channel to try to reach them and nudge them, right? And maybe the strategy is a little bit more wide, and maybe you don't go that specific account by account, but you're definitely thinking multi-touch to start moving them.
Yeah.
multi-channel. Sorry.
Have you seen companies mainly having the sales team be responsible for the physical events, or has it been the marketing teams typically?
We when we work with the companies, and we are often around on trade shows,
Yeah.
we work with marketing, and marketing, they are definitely a part of it, but it is the salespeople that are working their own playbooks. That means that we are pre-booking meetings, we are walking the floor, filling up the calendars, being on the
Mm.
trade show, doing tons of demos, collecting leads, bringing them back into sales processes, and activating them as straight as we are back into the office again.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, it's B2B. When it's B2B, it's probably, I don't know, 70% sales when we are on the
Okay.
trade
Yeah.
show, and 30% marketing, and maybe 70% marketing in the beginning. But in our, we book, salespeople are booking their own meetings and everything in our company.
Yeah. It's interesting where it's situated, because if it's about getting completely fresh cold leads in, maybe you don't want your senior account executive to be doing that, because they should be focused on getting contracts signed and not just getting new leads in. So I think it depends on the composition of your sales team and
The organization, yeah. But
yeah.
then you have to remember that we usually have, again, the BDR, SDR function, sales development, business development function, which is of course the function of developing SALs through
Yeah.
outbound efforts, right? And
Yeah.
this is where, again, the blend comes. It is a human marketeer, in my opinion, that are doing manually outbound marketing work
Yeah.
in a way, right? And they are the one responsible typically to make sure that the books are filled, and they are also walking the floor when we are at trade shows.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the senior, more senior, like the closers of the business, they are taking care of the demos and the customer relationship based stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What else?
So much.
Yeah. Let's see what some of the questions I wrote down. Yeah, and if any of you listening in on online have a question, just feel free to ask. So Lars, if we have to approach kind of a summary of what sales team need, B2B sales team need from their marketing department, could you try and come up with like a top 3 or top 5 or top 10 even of things that the sales team would like to see from the marketing team? Or we can do it combined, and then you do one, and then I I do one.
Let's do it combined, because you have a great lot of experience with this, right? But I believe to you, like, if I would say like a couple of points in the beginning, and I'm going to steal one of yours. So, but first and foremost, I believe that we need to have a unified language, and that is something that is needed from both parties. But the one that is probably going to be have the strongest pushback to it, if it's not happening, is going to be sales, because that is always what is happening. Sales don't feel marketing understand their field, and they're maybe also the biggest ego sometimes, right? So sometimes that they're pushing the most back. So having the same framework to work from and establish that, it's super important. And I believe that that marketing has a lot to contribute when it comes to that. Having and then following further into the sales pipeline and the sales process, and actually doing that physically by connecting and participating in demos and meetings to understand things better, so you actually understand what salespeople are actually doing every day. That is a great point, because that rarely happens, sadly. So same, like, foundation to work from, and the same also maybe then practical understanding of the challenges that sales are facing every day. That will open up for a better environment for collaboration, for sure. And that's 2 points. Do you have one?
Yeah. Yeah, like one thing that I think is a very healthy conversation to have is to constantly ask this question about when you win a deal, where did the deal come from? And then like you can even have like an autopsy meeting where marketing and sales meet together, and then they present, this was a deal that we were really happy about. Let's talk about what led to the deal. And then you kind of backtrack as much as you can. The sales team presents how was the sales process. The marketing team can look inside the CRM or any place else to say, when was the first time we heard about this deal? What content did they consume, and so forth. So you constantly get better at understanding when you win deals. They typically go through this journey, so that when everybody becomes more and more aware about this, then they can also start doing more of what they can clearly see works.
Yes.
Exactly. And that, I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is I think you touched on it a little bit, but marketers have to realize that there's only one scorecard, and that is when your company sells. In the end of the day, there's nothing else that matters. Anything else leading up to that is not the important metrics. So you have to think about that when you decide on everything you need to work on. That how can we today help the sales team the most possible? But that can also be it can be a hard one, because if the main metrics that you are measured upon is the amount of leads that downloads an ebook every month, and you want to spend your time fixing reviews on G2, well, then you're not meeting the metric you want, even though it might be more important to collect more reviews on G2 to make the salespeople more trustworthy when they're in a sales conversation.
Yeah, and it's so, but and it's so like it's so important to. This is so important, right? One thing is like the metric that actually unifies the growth team, right? And that is not. And then of course we have tons of metrics that we are measuring in our everyday work life, and all of the metrics that you are pointing towards are important, but it shouldn't be what you measure towards. And to that point, also, I would say that, and we see this a lot in the more established businesses in that we're working with, but also sadly with a lot of startups that more often than not, sadly, when we talk about budgets, salespeople, they think, how much do I have to sell for to reach my budget? Yeah. Marketing thinks often, sadly, how much money can I spend? And so they think about budgeted two separate ways, and it should be the same mindset. Yeah. How much money are we going to make? That should be the budgeting issue. And then, of course, we need to be cost aware, but it shouldn't be like a leading way of thinking that for marketing budget is about how much money we can spend, and for sales it's how much money we can make. It should be the same.
I think that's a good one, Lars. And I think marketers needs to be, together with the sales team, be able to actually reverse engineer what are the metrics that they need to be helping delivering on. So let's say you have a sales pipeline and 50% of them gets booked from activities by the sales team, and the other part should be booked by or like even let's even start at the revenue target. You need to sell for this much amount of money. Yep. To get one sale, how many sales opportunities do you need? To get one sales opportunity, how many sales acceptable leads do you need? To get one sales acceptable lead, how many MQLs do you need? And these metrics you need to know in marketing, and you also need to know how long it actually takes from the MQL happening until the revenue happens. And that typically means that marketing needs to be 1 and maybe 2 quarters ahead of the sales team's target.
Yes.
So if there's a Q4 target, that actually means that marketing needs to deliver some of, at least a big chunk of the input for that through their activities in Q2. So I think that there's this time to revenue awareness that marketers need to remember, that the goal is actually in Q4, but we need to deliver our input in Q2 because the sales team is going to need 4, 5, 6 months to get the contract signed.
Exactly, and that is something that the awareness around that is this is super interesting, and also something that we see even professional investors struggle with sometime, right? They expect results like a lot earlier than they should be expecting result, and start focusing on customer acquisition cost way too soon. Like in the beginning here, it's like, yes, of course you have to be mindful about it, but you also have to be mindful when it comes to the delay between the activities that you are actually
Mm.
now putting
Yeah.
into the market, and the sales actually then coming into um, and the results coming out of sales. And yeah,
That leads me to another one that I sometimes I talk with our customers about, that a lot of sales teams, they will know what it costs to book a meeting through outbound. Like
mhm,
the outbound team produces X amount of meetings per month. The salary of the outbound team is this. So we know the cost per acquisition of a new meeting.
mhm,
The same thing marketers need to put themselves in a position to, that they can talk the same language as the sales team. We got you 100 demo calls booked, and it was actually at a 10% lower rate than what the outbound team looks. That's how you get respect from the sales leader, because he just wants more meetings for his salespeople. And if you can start having a framework where you can show these are the costs we have
mhm.
versus what is the BDR team spending, and then it's a very rational choice between, should we put more money into BDRs or more money into ads, for example.
Exactly, and that's to the also the question in the chat there. That's actually pointing directly towards the question.
Yeah,
Um,
let's. I'll just read it out loud, Lars, and then you can
yeah,
answer it. How do you change the mindset to be more related to the ROI and what we will earn for the company or the organization? And that's Andy who's asking that.
yeah. So I believe already we touched upon it, and actually the last part of what you were touching upon also was in a way it's briefly pointing towards it, and and it's various way to doing things, and I don't know how far you are pushing it in your organization, Stefan, but I would like to in a way mention. I could briefly mention also how we did it in Sneta back in the days when we are starting to work more integrated. And that was that we already from the get-go, we said, like, when it comes to generating sales, when we are tracking the reverse engineered tracking from closed one to a sales opportunity to a sales SAL to an SQL to an MQL and so forth all the way.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
just see that in the beginning when we launched activities, because we were very sales heavy in the beginning, we decided upon when we sit here 12 months down the road, 6 months down the road, um, um, I think we started at 15% of the revenue is going to be generated by MQLs coming from marketing, and we
Mm.
should be able to reach it. And we would like to monitor the progress when it comes to this moving forward. That means also that in the beginning you get the cost allocation, and so you can like you can carry 15% of the cost because you have the 15% of the revenue.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you
yeah.
increase 20%, 30%, 40% of the revenue, you can also increase your cost base and actually be taking more investment into marketing because you're driving more revenue.
Mm.
So establishing the common goal for the company, but also then splitting down percentages of responsibility, and then backtracking that into what do you then have to generate in terms of MQLs, what do you then have to generate in terms of interest and so forth to feed into that narrative. That is one way of doing it, and then thinking about the framework and there, like looking upon again revenue architecture and how like to have like a common framework, whether that is the bow tie framework or what it is,
Mm.
and that you talk about the KPIs and metrics with one view, not with 10 different views. I think that's very important, because then everyone is talking about revenue and the right kind of metrics instead of talking about different sets of metrics. And also, why I don't know if this is what you like to do, Stefan, but I know that the companies that we have the most successful both working with and have been working with ourselves, they don't have a sales meeting and a marketing meeting. They have a revenue meeting. where you sit and talk about ROI of the activities in one and the same place, at least as an addition to a sales meeting, but that is you tune and adjust your platform all the time. Communication.
Yeah. No, that's a great place to start. If you as a marketer is not taking part of any meetings with the sales team, then just ask if you can join and listen in on what is the sales team talking about. But also to answer Andy's question, I think you have to learn to speak the language that the CEO and the sales leader and CFO cares about, and that is how much can we sell. So you need to be able to explain why are we doing the activities we're doing in marketing, with the outcome or North Star metric of us producing more revenue. So it's not just we want to do this brand campaign, we want to do this video, we want to do this event, and we want to do XYZ because that gives us sales acceptable leads and we win 10% of those. So if I produce you 20 of those, we get 2 new customers, and the event is going to cost me $100,000, but those deals that we typically win is worth $200,000. So like I can see in that way it becomes, you can make it a lot more a rational choice for the people in your organization. If you train yourself in constantly thinking, I have some cost, and those costs needs to become more money than you spent after you've spent the money.
Yeah, exactly. And it is as, you know, you can put it as simple as that, right? If you are thinking about lifetime value of a customer up against the customer acquisition cost, and also the customer acquisition cost payback time, which is also something that is interesting to monitor. If you build those, if you're able to, and this is what I typically then refer to as the revenue architecture, basically, for your company. Like, so you have the same language, you know, you have the same sets of metrics and KPIs, you have the same understanding of the frame you're working with, regardless of it being the bow tie or something else. Then you can have those rational dialogues that you're pointing towards, because you can basically peg it and say 5% of the revenue should come from marketing generated activities this year. And if we reach it, amazing, then we know that it's working, and then we can start doubling down on it. If we don't reach it, we have to do something. And if we're overachieving, well, then we should put more money into it. And talking about it all the time, that's how to get it, communication around it all the time. That's how we get it rolling.
Yeah. All right. I think, Lars, that this is probably a good place to end the conversation. Now, your colleague Camilla just shared your LinkedIn bio, but in general, if people want to collaborate with you or talk more with you, what is the best path to go down?
Reach out via LinkedIn, and now you have the LinkedIn also. Great, Camilla. Camilla is the VP Marketing and Scale Up, so she's we are doing multi-channel touch now. That's great. But reach out to me or also to Camilla, that you see the name of here via LinkedIn, just to have a chat, and we'll be happy to talk about these things and how we do things, also without you going into some customer discussions with us. We love to share this kind of information.
Yeah, and make sure you tell Lars and Camilla that you heard about it on this talk, so I can convince Lars to come back for a 4th round at
Then you have to 2 beers then. Yeah.
That's okay. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening. You were more than 100 people for almost an hour, so we, both Lars and I, really appreciate that. If you have any ideas for other speakers or other topics that we should pick up at some point, just reach out to me or Lars, and we'll be happy to do so. Have a great day, the rest of the day for you guys.